A history of launching. Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in favor say no. No. It's the opinion of the chair that the ayes have it and the resolution is agreed to, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid.
The gavel has fallen. A decisive vote has reshaped the political landscape. After weeks of fierce debate and controversy, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has been removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. The reaction has been immediate, explosive, and divided along partisan lines. Democrats are calling it a political vendetta, while Republicans stand by the move as a necessary step. Mr. Speaker, we've heard from my colleagues the reasons why the Representative Omar should be removed from this committee, but I feel like all the reasons have not just yet been stated, which is why I rise to add for the record. We've heard about the comments that were made regarding anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli views, but I rise to add to the record that as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I've sat there and heard the representative actually spew anti-American rhetoric as well. I've been in that committee room where the representative equates Israel and the United States to Hamas and the Taliban. Absolutely unacceptable for a member of that committee. I've also heard the representative quote that it is the United States' fault that there is turmoil in Venezuela. That is not because of the oppressive socialist and communism that has spread throughout Central and South America and Venezuela at the hands of the Maduro and Hugo Chavez regimes. That is unacceptable. And as a New York representative, to hear the representative belittle to try to diminish the worst, a terrorist attack on United States soil on September 11th, 2001, as some people did something that is unacceptable as well, and I hold the same standard for this side of the aisle that I do the other, because when another colleague on my side said something about 9/11, I also voted to have her removed from the Education Committee, because I thought that was inappropriate. So, I'm being consistent here.
Just moments ago, the president provided...
Let me give you the perfect example. How about Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar? In February of this year, she shot down claims that she's actually a millionaire. She wrote, "My salary is $174,000 before taxes. I don't have stock or own a home. And I'm still paying off my student debt. So if you're going to lie on something that is public, maybe try checking my financial statements, and you will see I barely have thousands, let alone millions." Well, people have checked the public records now.
What you've got to understand is these people from countries that haven't got the culture of integrity and truth and honour and a conscience towards that, they'll just lie, right? The Somalis and these types of people, Middle Eastern, the Muslims are taught in the Quran they're allowed to lie. They'll just lie. They'll lie flat. You'll be standing there, you won't believe what they're saying, but they're lying. They just lie. And they've got no conscience about it. You have to understand, these people will lie to your face.
Ilhan Omar apparently has a net worth upwards of $30 million, somewhere between $60 and $30 million. And get this, it's because of companies run and owned by her husband, who in 2023 had a net worth of $51,000. In 1 year, that $51,000 grew from $6 to $30 million. 3,500% growth in 1 year. What a good communist. It's always equality for you, elitism for those in power.
Their net worth went up 3,500%. How do you explain that? And then talk about the scrubbing on the website. That doesn't look good. What's Walz doing about that? Is he looking into this?
Well, certainly not. I mean, he's certainly supportive of whatever they're doing. And this is one of the other things that we need to address is the extent to which members of Congress find themselves getting wealthy while they're in Congress. In this case, it appears by being completely in bed with all of the fraudulent activity that's going on in Minnesota. Of course, we should investigate this. Of course, should we look into what they're scrubbing from their website. I think we've got to explore this as far as we can, including potentially looking into denaturalizing and removing Ilhan Omar if she's violated our laws.
And Ilhan Omar, in her ignorance, reckons she's going to cancel out ICE.
This talk of ending ICE altogether by her is not smart, because what kind of country do we have if there's no law enforcement for our borders?
The Congressional Progressive Caucus has adopted an official position to hold ICE accountable. Our caucus members will oppose all funding for immigration enforcement in any appropriation bills until meaningful reforms are enacted to end militarized policing practices.
Okay, so she wants no enforcement of our borders. Does this mean that, more money is going to come out for her friends that are taking it all the way to Dubai? Federal probe of hundreds of millions of dollars in suspected Somali cash in luggage leaving the Minneapolis airport. Again, this story, we first talked about this yesterday because it blew me away, like literally knocked me off my seat when I'm like, $700 million in cash. Like, who carries cash anymore? Like, I don't even ever carry. Okay, like, it's one of those things. Like, I'm like lucky to have $20 on me.
Which tells us that the fraud goes right through from the banks where the cash comes out, right through the airport system, right through the bank systems, the people that are watching where this money's going and what it's doing. It's right through the whole system.
What is the story, Rob, with her and $1 million restaurant? What's going on with that story? Okay, is this the one with page 8? Ilhan Omar advocated for funds for Somali-run addiction group, later discovered to be a restaurant. Is that the one we're talking about? Can you please play this, Rob? Watch this, folks.
Covered the other day, and one of our spending bills making its way through Congress was a $1 million earmark from Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, which was an earmark that was supposedly going to a substance abuse clinic, which actually happened to be housed in a restaurant and run by 3 individuals that share the same residential address, according to their IRS paperwork. Tons of red flags. So this is what we saw with the fraud involving the daycare centers. Now we see other earmarks coming directly from members of Congress where it seems fraud is being perpetrated as well. So I raised the issue, and fortunately, the House has now stripped that earmark out of that spending bill. But again, this is how easy money has been flowing to bad actors in Minnesota.
See, when somebody goes corrupt, they've got cognitive dissonance towards themselves. Ilhan Omar claims arrests of these fraudsters and illegal criminals are just PR stunts.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, what do you make of this? What do you make of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar here claiming this is just a PR stunt when the DOJ, FBI, DHS, IRS investigating? Even Governor Tim Walz, AG Keith Ellison, Mayor Fry says all of this crime must be stopped?
Yeah, Elizabeth, I guess if Baghdad Bob had a long-lost daughter, I think we just found her. It's Ilhan Omar. I mean, the lies that she is telling, and you may notice all those clips you played were from a network I guess is called MS Now, where she could just say these lies, not be challenged, and have bobbleheads in terms of so-called anchors nodding along when, as you said, when the top officials in the state, not exactly the most honest folks in the world, whether we're talking about Tim Walz, as you mentioned, Attorney General Keith Ellison, the human broomstick that is Jacob Frey, all of them admit admit there is fraud that has happened in Somalia. I'm sorry, I almost called Minnesota Somalia, Mogadishu, in Minnesota, to the tune of $9-10 billion. No one's denying that, I guess, except for Ilhan Omar, who is living in an alternate universe where I guess MS Now allows her to live. But in the end, this is all going to come to fruition. She was and is a congresswoman that represents Minneapolis, where a lot of this fraud happened, and it happened because of the Somalian community, because of importing the chaos that they have and bringing in hundreds of thousands of Somalis that obviously have fleeced the state for billions of dollars that they may never get back, Liz.
Yeah, your point's well taken. Critics are pointing out maybe Democrats should focus on teaching kids to read instead of teaching them how to protest for leftist causes, because only about a third of students in the St. Paul School District are meeting grade-level reading standards. That's abysmal.
Wow. I mean, you're talking 1 in 3, right? Only are at a reading level in a major NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey city. That is just absolutely inexcusable, especially the fact that the governor, Tim Walz, used to be, a teacher. So you'd think he'd care a little bit more about that. But yeah, you're right about that. In cities across the country, quite frankly, more reading, more writing, more arithmetic, and I think fiscal and financial responsibility in terms of credit, mortgages, how to save, all these things should be taught instead of, hey, let's go out and yell at ICE, who's expelling the worst criminals that this country has to offer. And by the way, these people entered the country illegally. They're sex traffickers, child molesters, rapists, and murderers. And we're going to support or oppose the people that are trying to get those people out to make the politicians on your screen actually look better. It's a whole bowl of wrong, Liz.
Fred. Well, I want to say, this also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen. And so it's been really frustrating.
Sorry, viewers, a bit of a hiccup there. I just want to say she's saying we also could have benefited from the program. Benefited from the program? They're all multi-millionaires. They've stolen the money.
And the money that was stolen. And so it's been really frustrating for people to not acknowledge the fact that we're also, as Minnesotans, as taxpayers, really upset and angry about the fraud that has occurred.
Mm-hmm. Can you see the depth of lies this woman's producing? The actual depth? She must think that Americans or civil common Americans and even political Americans that have got integrity and Australians are absolutely stupid. Like, you can see straight through her deceit.
So do you think, though, that there was a failure by the Democratic state government to police itself? This is a brazen, fraudulent activity here.
Yeah, and that is what I alluded to in my letter that I'd sent to the Secretary of Ag, was to see where things were going wrong. How can this amount of money disappear fraudulently without there being alarms being set off?
And she's one of the ones that let it go as well. She's as guilty as you can get.
And it is something that, we have to continue to investigate. We have to continue to ask those questions.
Now, she's saying continue to investigate and ask questions. No, she's ignoring all that because it all should have been wrapped up well and truly before this.
Republicans have repeatedly stated that you committed immigration fraud. Are you at all worried about a formal investigation that could perhaps lead to your deportation?
Well, you're one of those people.
You bet she is. She's petrified. She's putting on a brave face, but that's what these people do. They're serial denialists in terms of their mentality. She's going to put a brave face on all the way to the aeroplane that sends her back to Somalia. The level of deceit is at a serial level.
I don't know what that means, but are you at all concerned?
Do I look concerned?
I guess not.
Okay.
All right.
Well, just because you don't look concerned doesn't mean you're not. I mean, the level of cheek and arrogance and I mean, this is evil in its highest form.
What about the Minnesota fraud hearing? You didn't show up for that. Do you think you should have?
Why should I have?
Well, it happened in your state. Don't you want to defend your position?
There were people from my state that were there.
Okay, but why not you? I mean, there's allegations that you're complicit in the fraud. Wouldn't you want to show up?
Why would there be an allegation that I'm complicit? How would I be complicit?
See, viewers, you've got to understand the level of deliberate, willful blindness, right? She thinks that we can't see. She thinks that nobody can see how guilty she is. I mean, the woman's guilty. Forget about the others. They're all guilty as well. But this woman's as guilty as you can get. But look how well she plays it. And these people have a different culture to us. They haven't got the convictions. They haven't got the same convictions. And therefore, they just go about their evil as though they're not doing anything wrong because they don't think they are. They just think it's all okay and that nobody's going to see it because they don't see their evil.
Well, what about Tim Walz?
You just ask stupid questions? Is this your thing?
I'm curious to get your thoughts. I mean, there's a lot of controversy around the issue. $9 billion in fraud in the state of Minnesota.
$9 billion?
You don't think so?
Really?
Yeah, and counting. Probably more, honestly. You think that's fake news or what?
That is more than half of the resources that are allocated.
So now she knows figures and all the rest of it. She knows all the figures, how many, whatever's allocated. And she's got the gall to stand there and think that people can't see that she's in on the fraud.
Okay.
So you genuinely, your brain has told you that it is possible.
And now she's going psychological. She must be a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but she's not.
For half of the resources.
I'm just going off of what
for our public service to half disappear is what you're saying.
Countless Minnesota state representatives, whistleblowers have come
listen
forward.
To yourself, though.
I'm
trying
trying
to think about that for a second.
Maybe if you showed up at the hearing, you would know that whistleblowers are being retaliated against for exposing the fraud. Why is that? Why are they being tracked and traced?
Think about what you're asking.
No, she needs to think about the whole world's watching this little evil liar. That's what she is, and she'll be found out. They'll bring it out, as though nobody can see. Now, what she's trying to do, and I'm going to call this truth-ophobia, right? They've got Islamophobia and all this other crap and rubbish. Let's call this out-and-out truthophobia. She's not going to play into the truth, right? She's just going to play into the lie.
Who is tracing whistleblowers?
Minnesota state officials, Tim Walz, anyone who dares to speak out against the government.
Tim Walz is doing something to whistleblowers?
Yeah, why is Tim Walz stepping down if he's, innocent? Why isn't he running for re-election?
Because he's had 8 years to serve as our great governor.
He was going to be vice president of the United States if Kamala won.
Yes, and he would have been an excellent vice president.
But now he's stepping down.
Much better than the person we have right now.
And now he's stepping down as governor. Any comment on that? You don't think he's maybe complicit?
He is focusing on trying to make sure our state remains great. All right, have a nice day.
Thank you, you too.
Please read.
Congresswoman, Republicans have repeatedly stated that you committed immigration fraud. Are you at all worried about a formal investigation that could perhaps lead to your deportation?
You bet she is. She's completely scared out of her wits. They know they're coming for her. She knows they're coming for her.
There are reports that members of Congress are actually receiving a daycare and healthcare clinic money funneled through various PACs. If this is true and widespread, how can the American people trust Congress to task and uncover the far-reaching tentacles of this fraud?
Any member of Congress that's getting any money unethically or illegally, there's an ethics committee, and it's a bipartisan. It's an equal number of Republicans and Democrats, and that's the committee that's supposed to investigate members of Congress. The ethics committee was created. We have in our rules that we're not supposed to investigate other members, but the ethics committee has a staff, and that is their sole purpose for existence in life. And I think the House Ethics Committee traditionally has been a lot harder on unethical behavior than the Senate Ethics Committee. That's my opinion. But anybody that has information on a member of Congress, bring that to the Ethics Committee and they'll investigate it. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. We need to hold them accountable.
What about Ilhan Omar? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, she's at the top of the suspect list in that, so we'll see. But I can tell you, my members, there are going to be ethics complaints filed against Omar. She had an opportunity to come in here today.
Yeah, she was actually right across the hall at the Black Caucus lunch.
If there was anything about Kentucky, I would have been there, and I think that's the way it is with most members, especially the Somali. This is a hearing about Somali fraud. There have been countless reports that her husband has profited in some way, and she in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if that's true or not, but she could have had an opportunity to come in here and defend herself. So hopefully you all may knock on her door and ask her some questions, and we'll see what she has to say.
There are Congresswoman Omar, yesterday you told me to please read when I asked you about the $9 billion fraud that you denied is happening, but I have it right here. I read. Look, Chairman Comer opens hearing on massive fraud scandal, $9 billion.
That's what Comer believes because he's as smart as you are.
It's not just Comer. It's Scott Besson. It's federal prosecutors. It's House Oversight. And it's Minnesota State Reps.
You could have that, ma'am. I think you need to get examined because...
See, now she's playing the... See, that's truthophobia. They go for the mental state of the person that's trying to bring truth, right? That's the... See, again, you're looking at the level of deceit. This level of deceit's at the highest level. She knows they're coming for her. There's nothing she can do about it. She's got no defense whatsoever unless she, she just goes into denial and lies, which she lives in.
Your brain has been fried in some way, and it's not okay. I really hope you get some help. You and the Republicans here. Take care, okay, ma'am?
I'm sorry, I couldn't go to the learning centers that you're running over in Minnesota, but I think you should perhaps read what's actually...
need one of those learning centers.
I need one of those learning centers.
Yes,
and it's Minnesota State Reps.
You could have that, ma'am. I think you need to get examined because your brain has been fried in some way.
Well, the Somalian fraud fairy of Minnesota sat in on a field meeting with all her goofball friends to talk about ICE operations in Minneapolis this morning, and she sounded like a complete idiot, spreading lies, and at one point she actually told her people to fight harder, further turning up the heat. My Christian values don't allow me to really hate anyone, but out of all these woke fraudsters, Ilhan Omar really makes my blood boil. Hit that like and subscribe, and let's get on with the show.
What we are witnessing right now is unprecedented.
I don't think that's a word.
There is no modern precedent for this level of federal overreach. It is increasingly clear
That you're an idiot.
that is the context in which Renee Nicole Good occurred.
Learn English! Learn English!
This administration has unleashed primarily paramilitary force that citizens are being swept up, arrested, and carried away to detention facilities.
I thought I saw a pussycat.
We have heard of agents pushing people because they look Latino or Somali, forcing them into car accidents where they smash windows, cut seatbelts, carry people away.
Yeah, I'm sure all these people were perfectly innocent.
Flashbangs, pepper balls, and chemical irritants.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
And chemical irritants. This is not the Minnesota we deserve, and we will fight back.
Yeah, good luck with that.
What are you missing? It's in the billions now. It's bigger than the entire GDP of Somalia, just from Minnesota, allegedly.
Wild.
The entire GDP of a country, one state's fraud is supposedly over the course of, X amount of days that they did this.
And is it true that the guy that uncovered it was kind of like some guy? Like it was
this
like
Nick Shirley kid?
Yeah, this like internet
young kid, yeah.
Good for him.
I'm so exhausted in trying to ask what any of this, information has led to you finding any criminals that you have indicted that explains why you are wasting so much of our taxpayer resources and also terrorizing our communities in the amount of federal law enforcement agents that you have in the streets of our city and our state. There needs to be some sort of justification.
If you thought the fraud was limited to the Somalis and to the Minnesota government, you were wrong. I'm about to blow your mind.
because it goes to the government as well. First, let me explain to you that there is a law that your cash can be confiscated by a law enforcement officer, federal, state, doesn't matter. If you're driving in your car, let's say, and you've got $5,000, you're going to buy something and you're paying cash, and you get pulled over, and the cop sees the cash sitting on the side seat next to you and asks what it's for, and he doesn't like your answer, he could confiscate that cash. So keep that in mind. They've got the discretion to do that. So now imagine this. You're working at the TSA in Minneapolis, and every single day, not once, not twice, every single day, nonstop, there is a Somali courier that's coming in with luggage, and in that luggage is $1 million. $1 million every day. Somali's going, is declaring it, saying I'm pulling it out, and the TSA says nothing. Doesn't stop them, doesn't confiscate it like they would your money if you were driving in a car and a cop didn't like what you had to say. Every single day. Shooting out overseas. Now keep in mind that in Somalia, the number one industry in Somalia is a tie between livestock and money remittances. Remittances meaning the money that's coming from Joey Somali, sending it over to Al-Shabaab, the terrorist network. That is their top way of getting money in the country of Somalia. Now, to add insult to injury, Senator Joni Ernst just told the story about how it is that Ilhan Omar earmarked $1 million in a spending bill. She wanted the $1 million for a substance abuse clinic. Now, here's the kicker. That abuse clinic in Minneapolis was located inside of a restaurant. And the operators of that restaurant all register their IRS forms under one home address. Folks, we're getting stolen from, and all we're getting is BS hearings. The Trump administration must keep people accountable now.
What's going on, ARP family? Pull up a chair. We need to talk for a minute. We've all experienced hard times, right? We've all been there. Lord knows I've had my...
It was way beyond just fraud. Minnesota is an ongoing criminal terrorist enterprise, in my opinion. It starts with Ilhan Omar, who actually she wrote the legislation that allowed for COVID funds to go to places like Feeding Our Future and all of the Somali daycares. She wrote the bill. She wrote the bill without guidelines. She's the one who, and then she goes on national TV and says, well, the problem is that we have no guidelines on the money. You wrote the bill. And so she wrote it without guidelines. And then I believe, this is alleged, this is my opinion, she actively recruited and educated her Somali compatriots how to game the system, knowing that they had a fraudulent governor in Tim Walz who was going to turn a blind eye or actively participate, at which he did, because he persecuted the whistleblowers. Anybody who blew a whistle on this fraud, if they were a government employee, they lost their job, they lost their pension, they were followed by police, they had CPS show up at their house. This is $9 billion worth of money that has gone, yes, to big houses and fancy cars, but hundreds of millions, if not billions of it, has been transmitted out of the country to Al-Shabaab, which is a terrorist organization. And again, this comes back to the abject failure of the DOJ. Now, I'll give them a pass on this one because we haven't seen the end of this. Because Bessent said, one of the best news I saw about a week and a half ago was Bessent got up and said, I'm investigating. The Treasury is investigating the money. We're going to track it. We're going to know where every dollar went. When that happens, if the DOJ does not arrest hundreds of people, not on fraud charges, but on terrorism charges, they need to bring the FBI, they need to bring Homeland, and they need to start prosecuting people for aiding and abetting or financing terrorism under, as much as I hate the Patriot Act, they need to be prosecuting them under the Patriot Act. And these people need to go to prison for life or need to be renditioned to Guantanamo. Because that's what this is, an ongoing criminal enterprise to fund terrorism. And Ilhan Omar is complicit, in my opinion. Tim Walz is complicit, in my opinion. Attorney General of Minnesota is complicit, in my opinion. This goes way deeper than any of that. And Ilhan Omar, I believe, is up trying to cover her tracks because, yes, she's been fronting for this thing from the beginning.
Yes.
And when she talks about, there's been no prosecution, what are you talking about? There's been at least 87 people indicted and prosecuted for this thing, of which 78 of them are Somalis. This was started and run out of the Somali community for the specific act of getting rich and funding Al-Shabaab, and they all need to go to prison for an extended period of time, in my opinion.
No pushback from me, Dave. I'll give you the next word, but I want to say this. These fools are out there driving Lamborghinis in the snow. It's just crazy.
Wise, that man was picked over Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro to be, if Kamala had been elected, a heartbeat away from the Oval Office. This is a man who let the Twin Cities burn after George Floyd was killed and Also, this is a man who thinks that boys can be girls, and because they can be girls, then they need to have tampons in their bathroom because they have such a strong, if the Christian community had such a belief that they can make a biological boy menstruate, man, listen, there would be a revival all across this country. If we had that, that goes beyond the mustard seed. That's the entire French's mustard factory of belief. Because you're born a boy, but you need tampons in the boy's bathroom because you identify as a girl. I need to start identifying as Elon Musk's replacement so I can get his money bin. This is absolute insanity. Right. And what kills me, and this is coming from a person that does crisis management, public relations, marketing, it's not that they created a crisis with this Renee Good, say her name, nonsensical stuff. And it's tragic that woman lost her life. But aside from this morning, I ain't hear nobody talk about these Somalians, these daycares with no children, these non-emergency medical transport companies that with vehicles that never move, these healthcare in-home medical aid companies that have absolutely no clients, but the millions are being funded. And we keep stopping at the Somalis and not looking at the white liberals, allegedly for entertainment purposes only, who are probably behind this slush fund money laundering, which doesn't just go to Al-Shabaab. It also goes to Bobby and Sarah and Becky and Chris, not that Chris, but generally speaking. So at what point do we not get outraged about that? Where are the marches in the streets for the money that has been pilfered from the tax-paying Americans? And how come it's so interesting that just last week, Tim Walz says he's not going to seek re-election, mainly due to all of the scandal. And now because this woman decides to run or bump into or impede or block an ICE officer and she gets pum, we're not talking about that anymore. We're also not talking about the fact that Tampon Tim, Coach Tim, I understand white guys. I have yet to meet a white man with control of his gonads who thinks that Tim Walz is a good representation of them. Why did he take out the Minnesota flag and replace it with a Somali flag? Said, oh, that's better. Yes. I thought we were in America.
Come on.
So who are we serving here? And I want anybody who is talking about, oh, well, you know, Dave just dragging him because he don't like Kamala. I like Kamala more than y'all did because when she was running in 2024 president, I donated to her. You know why she dropped out from running for president before Iowa? Because the 92%, all the ski, wee, and perm, all the HBCU grads, all the sister girls that really wanted to break the glass ceiling and see a black woman in position didn't give her a dime. So now we got that out of the way. Can we get back to the facts that this is a slush fund Ponzi scheme? And if it was any place else, they would be dragging these morons into a courtroom in chains, and it would be televised bigger than the OJ trial. But because it's Minnesota, don't you know? We're not saying anything. Man, y'all need to sit down and go somewhere.
You know, this is exactly why we have to have a wholesale abandonment of the nanny state. Wherever you have big government, corruption is always tethered to it. The founders knew it. This is why they limited the authority of government, and they enumerated only 19 areas in which the federal government and governments were to function. And what you have now in places like Minnesota, and we all suspect, and hopefully will be proven correct, that Minnesota is just the tip of the spear, but it is there is more out there than that. This level of blatant kind of disregard. Whoever thought you could put money in a suitcase and go on a plane and fly with $1 million cash dollars in single bills, like you know, you go into the Somali strip club. This is insane that they have allowed this kind of stuff. They're going to go to Somalia and make it rain all over the terrorist groups. This is absolutely insane. And the only reason we are able to do this is because we have persons in leadership like Tim Walz, like Mayor Frey, like Ilhan Omar, who are seated in their positions at all points, blocking any type of accountability, providing every kind of explanation and diversion so that the people can't see it. So I'm going to be like Mr. Danzel. I'm back on my high horse, and I'm saying the way out of this is exposure.
That's right.
The Trump administration, the federal government, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel they're running, trying to seal up leaks in the floor, and there are too many leaks to seal. That may be true. I don't know. However, again, sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. They must be exposed. They must be exposed. When you expose them, you will automatically stop this corruption, or at least limit its ability to function at the mass grand scale at which it is, because there'll be no place for them to hide. People will see these couriers coming in with these boatloads and suitcases of money and ask themselves, well, wait, where is this going? And Americans will begin to become infuriated that this is how they are being abused by their own leadership. It is one thing for people outside of the country to have feelings towards the America. It is another thing for your neighbors, your friends, the people you have have elected to be the ones to tell you it's time to bend over and take the beating and take the punishment. This is absolutely insane, but it is our fault. We are going to, unfortunately, if we cannot depend on our government to expose them, we are going to have to all go the Nick Shirley route ourselves in our own municipalities where we live, where we know where the dirt is going on and we know what rock to kick over. We're going to have to shine the light and say, see here, these people cannot be left to do their dirt. They are intent on bankrupting this country. Yes. They are intent, when they said defund the police, no, they want to defund America. Yes. Because they do not want America to exist as it has. And out of chaos comes order, and they have a plan.
They can take over. That's right.
Once they get the level of chaos they want.
That's right.
Absolutely. I don't know if you guys saw the bags. They have pictures of the cash in suitcases that were being taken through security. I'm telling you, Dave, Minister Danzel, if you try to roll through, it looked like dope money. If you tried to roll through any airport in America with a duffel bag with money wrapped up in rubber bands, I'm telling you, it looked like dope money. And they allowed this money to flow through. We're talking $3.75 million or $1 billion in the year that was 2024. We don't know what it was for 2025. That was just 24. We're talking about a third of Somalia's GDP.
Yes.
From our country. And what's really infuriating is the fact that they're not even wire transferring it. These people are old school. Oh. I thought I was watching Blow. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was watching Blow from back in the day, the way they were taking money on airports. I'm like, this is crazy. They're on airplanes with duffel bags of cash with rubber bands wrapped around it. Like this is the dope game from the 60s or 70s. It makes absolutely no sense, man.
Why is it so difficult for them to start nailing people? And I mean, big name people, and exposing them. You see, I mean, I don't see how Ilhan and Walls are still publicly talking and free. I don't understand. With the technology we have today, they should have been exposed and put on blast and actually prosecuted a long time ago. So my point is that one of the things that emboldens these people is because the process is so slow. And there's so little media putting people on blast in media and saying, listen, yeah, we're coming after you. We have this on you. You know, they see what they did with Trump, right? They were putting stuff out in advance. I mean, they were putting they were doing, I mean, everybody was, he's a felon. We should be doing the same thing to these criminals. Because there's so much money and so much corruption that it should be we should be overwhelmed with exposure. So my point is there's a slow process that's killing me.
Yeah. I mean, well, this also is a showcase of it just showcases liberal media or corporate media, mainstream media, whatever you want to call them. It shows that they're in on the grift. They're in on this.
They're getting paid, man. Yeah.
Because instead of doing their job, what Nick Shirley did and what he showcased about 2 weeks ago, he made corporate media look very bad. He made them look very bad. Yes. He did the job that they should have been doing all along. He did the job that I think most Americans assume that they would do. They're no longer in the business of informing the people. And to be honest with you, I don't know if they were ever in the business of keeping the people informed. Dave, did you want to get in there real quick?
Yeah, very quickly. And again, I'm very, very clear about this because people will do this thing where they want to be all inclusive. Oh no, we're all black people. No. If your forehead is in the shape of a light bulb or that alien from American Dad, and you're walking around saying and identifying as, look at me, I'm the captain now. Listen, I am a law-abiding citizen with plenty of law enforcement in my family, and I get patted down at the airport all the time. For just having an ounce more of body wash, because once I unbig my back, I still have that that stigma in my head that I'm afraid that big people stink. So I shower a lot. Right? I'm on tour. You understand what I'm saying? I like certain body wash because hotel body wash just don't be hitting and it dries your skin out. I'm black. Okay, I'm black. So I could not imagine. Do you know what I could do if I could get half of that bag in there? It's like everybody just lost their minds and listened to Play a Circle and said, "The galley gets a daddy little duffel bag light bulb heads." I'm trying to understand how this continues to happen, Wise. And when I say something, I'm being over the top. I'm not understanding. I'm being divisive. Black lives, by large mansions. These people are corrupt in such a way
everywhere
that they can't get. If Donald Trump did half of this,
come on,
they would not have to take misdemeanors and turn them into 34 felonies and say that he's a convicted felon. Tampon Tim literally SA'd somebody allegedly for entertainment purposes only, and this dude is you know why it happens? Do you know? Okay, here's why it happens. Because everybody who is in power to enforce the law is getting paid. Yes. My daddy, God rest his soul, would say, "Money talks, BS runs a marathon." Tampon Tim and his band of merry paid under the table cronies that have Somali flags behind them and the American flag damn near off stage right are running around like Usain Bolt and running with the money. That's how that happens. There's no way that happens on your watch unless you're getting paid or you're inept. And in this case, Tampon Tim is both. But again, what do I know? I'm over the top. I'm sitting up here. I'm being divisive. I don't love my people. I'm a Trump supporter. What else you gonna throw about me? I'm tired. Guys. I'm tired. I'm just trying to figure out what I lied about.
What I would say is somebody who used to work in the airline.
Mm-hmm.
The whole entire TSA is getting the kickback, or the people they have somebody that they tap on the shoulder. So we need to now go investigate the scams in there, because you cannot. I remember working in the airline. I remember what it was like, because I used to work for an airline, and I had friends within TSA. I would see when I would have to go down and watch bags go through the TSA belt as TSA checks it. So understand, if they're checking the bag and they're seeing all of this money and they're letting it slide through, they're getting paid too. And as people keep pointing out, the Somalian IQ is like what, 68 or whatever their IQ is at this point.
They ain't doing it on their own.
They're not doing this on their own. They're not doing this on their own. And people fail to realize they're not doing this on their own. I just watched something. I went to look at something online because last week, I was on another show, and we looked up that there was this restaurant, Albee Kitchen, that was in Minneapolis, that was in the same building as the Quality Learning Center. It was in the same building. How about we watched it on Google Maps, and I told everybody, because we have the video and everything, how in the world were they able to put a kitchen in the same section as a daycare? You can't put those two. As somebody that works in commercial real estate, you cannot put those two together. The coding does not work. That's not allowed. You can't put a kitchen and a daycare in the same place, right? How about if you go Google it now? They've erased the name. That store is now moved. The kitchen is moved, and now they have Quality Learning Center all over the building. Like they just changed that just like that. So even within the municipalities, they're involved in it. They're getting paid because somebody pointed out that something's wrong with that, and they went and they fixed it because people were talking about it.
They don't want no attention.
Their dirt is so deep. Listen. There are a lot of people being paid by this. There are a lot of people at all levels in all different areas that are being paid off by this, and they're taking the money and they're staying quiet. And that is why it is necessary, as my sister Celeste says, as Mr. Denzel, as everyone has said, expose, and then expel. I don't want to see y'all just talking and then walk off. I don't want to hear just talk. I need to see action. As Dave just said, they were able to take a bunch of misdemeanors and say that Trump is a felon now. Right. Let us give them the same energy. That's what I'm saying. When you're not punishing these people, expose and punish. Because understand, free will, we have freedom, but you're not free from consequences. These people have to pay for their actions because they're stealing from American taxpayers, period, point blank.
I want to hear from you guys, man. What are your thoughts on all of this? Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. Appreciate you guys, man. And as always, keep God first, stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all.
You're watching Ilhan Omar produce cognitive dissonance as a weapon against accountability, but it's not going to work. This is going to be massive when they all go down. If they don't go down, well, we know that the whole system's corrupt, and that's all you can conclude. See you on the next one.
Thank you.